Welcome to the live webinar presentation of the Chiropractic Toolkit's ChiroTouch macros. The ChiroToolkit offers a complete package to help you raise the bar on compliant documentation and make it easy. If you want to be able to sleep sound at night and have peace of mind knowing that your coding and documentation are fully compliant and audit-proof, then these ChiroTouch macros are for you. Hi, my name is Dr. Matthew Kirkham, and I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to let me show you what makes these ChiroTouch macros so unique. We'll have plenty of time at the end of this presentation to answer any questions you might have. So at the top of your webinar screen, you will see a chat button that looks like this. Feel free to click on that at any time and send me your message or question as we cruise through this presentation, and we'll make sure we get through all of them at the end of the session, at the end of the presentation during the Q&A session. Of course, you can always contact us outside of this webinar at ChiroToolkit.com and click on the support page. You can reach us email at info@ChiroToolkit.com. We're available through live chat through the website and also telephone at 219-226-6226. So let's dive into the ChiroToolkit's ChiroTouch macros in this presentation. Again, I'm Matthew Kirkham, chiropractic graduate from 1998, practicing currently as a sports chiropractic physician, and I have been a ChiroTouch user since 2008. So these have taken literally over 8 years to perfect these macros, and for any of you who's tried to create your own macros, you can appreciate the thoroughness that they require and the time that it takes. So you'll find that when we're done that these are probably some of the most thorough macros you've probably seen, and it's only accomplished by seeing literally tens of thousands of patient encounters to work through. In every scenario that comes up throughout the years, I have made sure that the macros were able to meet that particular patient visit. So rarely now do I ever have to finger type a note in. These ChiroTouch macros will run you through pretty much every patient encounter. So what you'll find is whether you're a high volume cash practice or an insurance heavy practice, maybe focusing on PI or anything in between, these macros should be easily customized to fit your needs. The learning curve is very short for docs that they report because they are very structured, they're very systematic, they're very efficient, they are very thorough, and most importantly, again, to get that pillow factor at night, is they're very compliant and audit proof. I've had my notes over the years friendly audited by experts in the profession who have commented that they literally are in the top 5% of audit proof notes that they've seen, compliant notes. So again, the only way to accomplish that really is through making very structured, very systematic and efficient and very thorough notes. So we will spend this whole webinar talking about the ChiroTouch macros. I do want to highlight a couple other features of the ChiroToolkit. There are office forms available. There's over 50 chiropractic office forms that that will correlate perfectly with the ChiroTouch macros. In particular, ones you might find interesting is the ICD-10 cheat sheet. As you all know, you're all familiar with the new ICD-10 codes. I have boiled it all down to one-sided 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper of all the most common codes in order of hierarchy on that ICD-10 cheat sheet. Also, treatment plan worksheets are literally essential to my practice. They are the foundation. They run a patient through visit by visit protocols, and there's many protocols, so check those treatment plan worksheets out. They correlate perfectly with the ChiroTouch macros. Financial templates for patient financials. There's a new patient intake form that you will find to be very, very thorough, complete, easy for patients to fill out. But it correlates again perfectly with the new patient intake section of the ChiroTouch macros. That particular form is included in the ChiroTouch macros order. So if you place the order for ChiroTouch macros by itself, you will get the new patient intake form free of charge, which is part of the office forms. There's communication scripts and protocols and employee performance reviews that are very unique, very thorough. The employees love to get those annual reviews, and this is extremely thorough. So make sure you check out the office forms. I think you'll find a lot of useful tools there. Also, the office policy. We literally took a year to write this office policy, pouring through dozens of policies to boil it down to a very thorough but very precise, very good office policy that incorporates not only the standard, standard essentials of an office policy, but also legal documents such as the employee non-disclosure agreements, the confidentiality agreements, the theft protection, compliance policies and procedures, HIPAA, all the different things. So we want to make sure that when we start employees off, that we have them run through all of the essential legal documents as well as the office policy. So check that out too. We do have a bundle package where you can get them all for a discounted price. So make sure you check out the other tools. So let's dive into the ChiroTouch macros. We are going to cover during this webinar presentation all these different topics. So we're going to fly through pretty quick. You'll get a great overview of the flow of the macros and how they work. But we're going to start with showing you just the typical note format. And if you've gone to the website, ChiroToolkit.com, we've given you samples of common visits, such as the first day visit, the second day visit, the routine office visits, maintenance visits, re-exams, what they look like. And I'll show you the macro layout, how these macros are laid out so you can pick it up really quick. The beauty of ChiroTouch is that we can set up automation of code. So as we do the notes, the way I wanted to create these macros and the way they actually work is that to meet the highest level of compliance, we want to make sure that as we create our office notes, that it's automatically inputting the correct diagnoses and the correct procedure codes. So to make sure they match, you certainly don't want to bill a procedure code or post an improper diagnosis code if the notes don't match. So we want to make sure always that our notes match up with the coding that we use. So ChiroTouch, in my opinion, and of course probably all yours because you're on this webinar, is by far the best practice management software out there. You've spent a lot of money on it, that's for sure, but it's well worth it. And I think the best fuel for that expensive car that you bought would be these macros. So if ChiroTouch is the Ferrari of practice management software, let these ChiroTouch macros be the fuel. So once we get into the overview, we're going to show you specifics of the complaint section. We're going to get into exams, E&M. These macros will make sure you bill the correct level of E&M code based on what your notes are producing. We're going to get into extremity exams, x-ray reports, treatment plans, outcomes assessment. If you do physical therapy, we have a full rehab section laid out with MPA exams, movement pattern analysis, and functional exams, and entire rehab protocols built into the macros. For Medicare, we have all the G codes, the PQRS, automated into the macros. The treatment section we'll dive into of how that works. Orthotics and other DME, we have the entire, let's say foot levelers or whatever orthotic, we have the entire protocols built into the macros. For those that get into personal injury, we have sections on that for sure. A little side note to that is the way these macros are created is we really want to document to the highest standards. And for most, it's Medicare, that's a high standard, and personal injury is the highest standard of documentation. I've created these notes to document on everybody, whether it's your front desk staff or your cousin who in charge, whoever it is. We want to make sure that we document the best we can, because bottom line, anybody can sue you. So we don't want to. We want to make you compliant, make you have solid notes, but at the same time, we want you very efficient, very fast on your notes. So these macros accomplish both of those. We're able to create very thorough, very specific notes, and still be very fast and very efficient. We're going to dive into the routine office visit. As you know, the ChiroTouch has a self-check-in, so we'll show you the options of that and how to incorporate that into the system. Non-compliance, missed appointments. I hate to say it, but we all have those, and we need to make sure we document properly on those. Therapeutic withdrawal, discharge summary. We want to make sure that you know how to properly close an active care case so that you can begin maintenance care. And then I'll show you an overview of the support training videos. So as we For those members who actually purchase the ChiroTouch macros, you will have full support, training videos covering every detail of the macros that broken down into every component. So we'll dive into that too. So, okay, so let's go ahead and open up the ChiroTouch macro screen. We'll do that here. And for those of you on this webinar, I assume you already know how to get to this screen and how to open up the chart notes section. So we're going to dive right into that. Now, again, I'm just going to reiterate, the goal of our notes is, as we create our SOAP notes, we want it to automatically input the proper diagnosis codes. And if we're doing procedure codes, we want it to automatically input the proper procedure codes. We don't want to have a situation where we maybe post a procedure code and the notes don't justify it. Or we have diagnoses built in here that we picked from a random list that the notes don't justify. So let's show you how we do that. Okay, we're going to get into the overall layout. Now, for quick understanding of how these macros are laid out, there's three main common areas you're going to always go to. This upper right hand corner on every screen is what's called the major events section. So anything major. So in this case, for the subjective, consultations, first day visits are major. We get to the objective screen, we're going to see examinations. That's major. The assessment screen, we'll see, of course, the assessments. We'll see x-rays. So again, this upper right hand corner is major events. And of course, reported findings, treatment plan. So typically for most doctors, it's day one, maybe day two are major events. That's consultation, exam, x-rays, assessments, and then the reported findings and treatment plan. So upper right hand corner, that's your go-to section for anything major. The upper left hand section on all the home screens is your routine office visit section. Wherever you see an ROV, of course, that's your routine office visit. So we'll get into, again, this upper left-hand corner on every home screen is your routine office visit section. So these buttons you'll be using most frequent. And there you go. And then the last major section is this bottom right-hand corner, which, of course, as it says, is maintenance. So once we're done with active care, we want to make sure that we know how to not blur the lines between active and maintenance care. That should be a very sharp separation between the two. So on this bottom right-hand corner, we have our maintenance section to make your monthly maintenance or whatever it is, every week or every 2 weeks, every month, however often you choose to see them. We just want to make that visit be quick and efficient. So there you go. So that's the major sections. That's how it's laid out. Let me show you how these notes actually look. So just to get an understanding of the output that these are going to be. This would be a sample, a typical day one of the examination. You're going to see highlighted or bolded titles on each paragraph, and I'm not really big on abbreviations. So the beauty of having EMR, electronic health records, is that we can, not do shorthand, that we can actually write out. So you will see very easily read paragraph form and very well formatted, so easy reading for anybody to read, whether it's a personal injury attorney or an insurance company or yourself or another doctor. We want it easy format. So you can see that's a day one. Typical office visit, routine office visit might look something like this, where we have our subjective, we have our objective. Our treatment I always put right after the objective. So, and you can move that around wherever you find it best. The macros make it customizable where you can move the treatment section wherever you like. But we'll typically these macros will lead you through this process, where if you do chiropractic adjustments, then you might lead into therapeutic modalities like electrical muscle stim or IST, whatever you choose to do, and then a full rehab therapy protocol. So that would be, and of course your assessment with diagnoses already put in. The key with having good notes is that each and every note really should be able to stand by itself. So every single office visit note you have, every routine office visit, you should be able to pick up any particular note and be able to make total sense of what their problems are, what you're doing to help, where they're at in their treatment plan, how much improvement they've had or how much change they've had, and the future plan that you have. So that's the key. So every feature of these notes is to make sure that all the compliance parts are being met so that, like I said, every single note can stand on its own and be by itself. So let's dive into the complaints section. Let's show you one of the key features of these macros and what makes them so unique. So we're going to get into consultations. There's new patient you're going to select. So whether it's a new patient consultation or if it's an auto accident, you can have a separate intro paragraph that gets into the details of an auto accident or a work comp, or if it's personal injury, or of course pediatric. So let me show you the new patient consultation subjective. We are going to get into the and again, these macros are very structured to lead you through. Very simple. Wherever you see the intro button, you're going to click on that, and the arrow is going to point you where you have to go. Now, when you are a member, you will have videos that run you through very detailed of how to make a very complete first day and second day office note, and run you through all the details of what each of these buttons will show you. But let me just show you, like I said, the complaints button, because this is one of the key features of what makes these macros so unique. So complaints, we have it broken up into all the major categories. So let's say you want to have, or let's say you have a patient with lower back pain, and most of the time you're going to see something generic. So let me go back, and you're going to see a complaint. So most macros have something like this, right, where you have a generic complaint. So you're going to click on that. You're going to click all the different components of where they hurt, of course, and rate on the pain scale, and all the different components. The only problem with that, or I should say the main problem with that, it does create a good note, but the problem with that is that you're left with a note without a diagnosis. So it's still up to you to go find a diagnosis and match with your note, which of course you can do, but if we can make it easy, we want to make it easy. So the way you can get very specific or very accurate is to get very specific. So again, let me open up this low back menu. Now we have it broken down into hierarchy. So let's say they do have lower back pain radiating down the right leg to the knee. That might, and maybe it's the back of the leg, so that might fall into radiation of the L5, S1 disc, bulging, and then it gives you the code. So if I click this, now it's going to run you through all the components of the subjective complaint, of when it started, what makes it better, what caused it, what makes it worse, things like that. But the beauty of that is now we have a very accurate note that also will input the diagnosis code for you. So that is run through when on the complaint section. Every single complaint has it broken down into all of the key diagnoses that we like to use. So, and it's of course all the ICD-10. Now we made it easy for you, so we'll show you in a later video of how to assign your automation of the codes to each of these buttons. So that's the complaints section. We have it broken down into all of these different components, and all the screens are very as thorough as the low back was. Let's get into the examination. So on day on day one, typically, again, this upper right hand corner is examinations. We're going to click on this, and if it's an adult exam, a child exam, or if we do an extremity exam, but the extremity exam you'll see is also included into the adult exam. So now again, for compliance, we want to make sure that our E&M code is the proper code. In other words, if you know the different bullet levels or the criteria that justifies an E&M code, these macros are going to make sure you meet all that. So I'm going to click on this last button first to show you what I mean. So each evaluation and management code has certain criteria. So we call them bullet points. So if you do 1 to 5 bullet points, it justifies just a 99201. 6 to 11 gets you a 99202, and a 203 would be 12 bullet points or more. If you do all of the bullet points in my macros, it will get you a 99204. And 99205 I didn't even put here because there really isn't any scenario where a chiropractor would be able to perform a 99205. So knowing that, if we get back into the adult exam, if you look in front of each macro, or each button I should say, there's For instance, in this particular basic intro, there's 4. So this button alone is going to get you 4 bullet points. So we would just need to do 2 more to get the 99202 level. So the way these macros are written or are broken out is very structured, like I said. So you're always going to start in this upper left-hand corner. Is it a new patient? And is it an initial exam? They're Caucasian. Let's say they're right-handed, and they're in moderate pain, and they're kind of husky. So there's an intro, and then you're going to click on Vitals, and it will just run you through. So again, this lower right-hand corner will always take you back to the screen you were. So as you cruise through each of the exams, it's going to cover all of the criteria, and then when you get to the end, you're going to select your E&M bullet point. Now, one thing I will point out, let's see, all of the orthopedic tests also, we see this particular musculoskeletal button has 4 bullet points built into that. The beauty of getting into this, I'm going to show you, is when it gets into the orthopedic test, let's say the left deltoid strength, it's going to show you or tell you exactly how to do that particular orthopedic test. Just to refresh you, so maybe it's been a while since you learned some of these tests. What we did is build in the most common comprehensive orthopedic tests. So cervical compression, of course, is one that a lot of docs would probably do. If it's positive or negative, you select it. If you didn't do it, you just select one of these. But again, it tells you how to do the exam and the results of them for each and every orthopedic test. Okay, so that's, and that when it gets into extremity exams, I'll show you that right now. Again, the difference of creating a generic versus specific note. These most, again, show you the generic. It does not input. So let's say we did a shoulder exam. You're always going to click on this upper left hand corner. So shoulder exam, it's going to run you through. Is it an initial exam, right shoulder, range of motion it'll ask you on, was there crepitus, and then again it's going to get into the orthopedic test, the most popular or the most common ones used for each extremity. It'll show you, or it'll tell you how to do it and the test we're looking for, the positive or negative. And as you run through, I'm just going to cruise through these really quick. This would be shoulder, and then what we're going to do, that would be what the shoulder looks like here. And then the next, we're going to actually click on the diagnosis. So we did a right shoulder on that. Let's just say there was right bursitis is what we diagnosed. So again, I put in all of the ICD-10 codes for you already to make it easy for you to assign all of the coding to this. So now as we click this button, it's going to put in the diagnosis, but the beauty of it is it's also going to put it up here. Okay, so that's how we make sure. So you have a full extremity exams laid out for you as well. So it covers all of the major extremities and all of the most common diagnoses that we see in a chiropractic office laid out for you. So no more guessing on extremities. Let's get into x-rays. So again, typical major events is the upper right hand corner. Another cool feature of these macros is going to be not only the x-rays I'll show you, where of course you click on the intro if it's a first day. If we did lumbar x-rays, I have it here where you click on this, and then of course when I click save, you're going to see the charge come in here automatically. But let me dive into the actual x-ray report. So not only do we have all the x-rays built in to the macros, but we have an x-ray report. So when I click on x-ray findings, let's say we did x-rays in this office, or if it was another office, of the lumbopelvic spine. Now we're going to get into actual diagnosing or you know, creating a note-based x-ray report. So let's say they have degeneration of the L1 through L5. If we click on this, it will input it. Let's say they have it on these levels here. It will put it in, but also it's going to put into the notes as well as the diagnoses, the actual coding. So you have a full x-ray report built in, and that covers all of the major details that we see typically on a typical x-ray in a chiropractic office. Is all going to be covered here for you. And each of these is very thorough, whether it's spondylolisthesis, it's all laid out where simply you click on the button and it inputs the note as well as the diagnosis code. That's the difference of having generic to specific. This is very specific and very thorough. So let's get into the treatment plans. Again, we have a treatment plan template where Treatment plan, as you all well know, is much more than just treatment frequency. Treatment plan gets into, I'm going to just click through these really fast. Again, this is a template. Now, I typically never use this button, but I want to show you how you can create a generic note. And what they get into on a treatment plan is going to cover, of course, treatment frequency, the therapies you plan to use. If you incorporate rehab either in office or at home, it's going to include that. And of course, treatment goals, short-term goals, long-term goals are going to be built in for you there too. But the beauty of these macros, again, is going to be treatment plan templates. So we'll have them, let's say initial, we have it built into where, let's say you wanted to see patient 3 times a week for the first 3 weeks, and then twice a week for the next 3 weeks, and then weekly for the next 3 weeks. We want to cover at least the first 30 days. So again, the full treatment plan protocols are built in for you. So it's simply clicking one particular button. Let's say their condition's acute, it's a moderate severity, we're going to rehab in the lower back. It will put all that criteria in for you, and you have that all built in for not only initial treatment plans, but updated treatment plans as well. So again, for the members, there is very thorough training on these once you get to that section, but this is just for an overview. Outcome assessments, that's another cool feature laid out in these macros, is the outcomes assessment button. ChiroTouch does have the forms you can look or create on the iPad, and they're good. We use them. However, it's still, a lot of docs still use paper, and I kind of prefer those better myself because I love to get things in the own patient's handwriting. But anyways, all of the outcomes assessments are built in. So let me just give you a quick example. If we do an intro, let's say we did a baseline, it will put in a introduction, and let's say we did lower back disability index. You would put in the scores, rate it, the category of what's the major goal they need. Let's say they sleeping, we want to improve to where they're sleeping all night with mild pain. So all of the outcome assessments will give you very thorough explanation of what they mean, the citations to it, as well as setting a treatment goal in place too. So we have a full outcome assessments program built in there as well. Let's get into the physical therapy section. So getting into treatment, we have adjustments, modalities, and of course rehab. So let me show you the rehab protocols for those docs that incorporate physical therapy into the protocol. If you don't, you can just ignore this section. But we have movement pattern and analysis built in. So your physical therapy exam is going to be laid out for you. There is a generic template, or if you like presets, we have, let's say, upper cross syndrome on left side built in, if it's upper cross right or upper cross bilateral or lower crossed or both. Those are automatically built in for you. So full rehab examinations as well as rehab protocols. So when we get into rehab, I will show you all of the procedures that are built in. Would include ADL instructions. We have range of motion with a ball, isometrics with a ball, stretching, tubing, and that's the protocol. So it will these macros will actually lead you through visit by visit protocols to progress a patient all the way through, and that's built in for cervical, lumbar, shoulder, knee, wrist, and ankle. So that's the physical therapy section. You've noticed throughout, perhaps, maybe as you've been glancing, but there's a lot of buttons I get into when they say Medicare, or non-Medicare or Medicare. And that's because we want to create the ability to automatically input the G codes, or the PQRS codes, as we do our notes. So let's say, for instance, we did a day 1, or let's say a day 2 visit. I'll use this as an example, and the Medicare, non-Medicare separation is built in throughout the macros. When it comes to treatment, of course, we want the -AT modifier for active care treatments for Medicare, whereas everybody else we don't. So wherever you see this, there's a reason why. So when I get into the day 2 Medicare, what's their prognosis? How much relief do they get after treatment? Is there complicating factors? Let's say chronicity of the problem and disc degeneration. Full recovery is anticipated, and they might exceed norms. And is there any contraindications? Absolutely. Let's say there's no absolute contraindications and no relative contraindications. which VA or OAs do we use. And here we go. So again, day 2, and again, there's videos that will get you detail. I'm just giving you a quick overview, but it will get into automatically plug in your diagnosis, the prognosis, treatment change, complicating conditions, contraindications, but then also, like I was saying, it automatically puts in the Medicare codes for you, whereas the non-Medicare won't have these. So throughout, wherever you see Medicare, non-Medicare, we make the PQRS coding, the G coding automated and very, very easy for you. Get into treatment. So I assume for every chiropractor we're trained to do, consultations, examinations, assessments, and everything identical. Of course, where the difference comes in would be treatment, or actual treatment technique. So I've made that easy where all the treatment's in one button. So wherever you want to move this button, I'll show you how to move it. It's very simple. But let me get into the treatment and how it's laid out. You will always click the treatment intro button in the upper left hand corner and follow the arrows. That's how these macros work. So if we do adjustments, we're going to get into adjustments. Again, are they Medicare or non-Medicare? Let's say non-Medicare. Are we going to do a 1 to 2 region, 3 to 4 region, or 5 region? Let's say we did a 1 to 2 region. And then which region? We have cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacrum, or pelvic. Let's say we did a lumbar at L5 and it's a P listing. And let's say we did it on the high-low table. So there's the dialogue. And again, I have very detailed instructions of how to be very efficient in these particular notes. In a member training video down the road for you to watch. So as we create the notes, now I just clicked on this 1 to 2 region. Let me just show you how that's automated. You're going to assign, put in the G codes, plus it also put in the 1 to 2 region adjustment. So now these, when you do your particular adjustment, see how it says Gonstead? That can be changed. So you can list as many techniques as you want, and you can preset it, and I will show you how to do that to preset it. But this adjustment section is totally customizable, and I will help you through that process. It's actually not too hard for me to help you with that. So again, that's the only thing that's probably going to be quite a bit different for most docs, would be the adjustment section. But when we get into modalities, we have, again, treatment intro. Say we did EMS on lower back and sacral area. There's the dialogue it will put in, and it will also post not only the EMS code, but also muscle spasm code. And again, you can assign those however you like. When you buy the macros, you will have a complete list of all of the codes that you'll have to automatically input. Unfortunately, ChiroTouch won't let me export that feature, but I made it very easy for you, as you can tell on all these macros, where I put the coding into the description for you automatically. So let's get into orthotics. That's another common theme throughout these macros. On objective home screen, you'll see orthotics protocol, assessment orthotics, and plan orthotics. So that the orthotics protocol is built in. If you do x-rays, if you do taping and strapping, if you ordered the orthotics, if you did orthotics fitting and training, and then post-checkout modifications, again, it's all built in. As well as all other DMA. So if you do a TENS unit prescription, let me just show you that button real quick. Say we do a TENS unit, we prescribed it for lower back. The date of the original treatment, again, we want it, for a lot of them it's chronic. So let's say we did a date. You just want a date of your first treatment. What's their prognosis? And here is the DME prescription that, of course, we want to have on file if we prescribe any kind of DME. So it gets into the onset date, previous treatments, primary indications for use, goals of prescription, certificate of medical necessity, instructional use, prognosis, monitoring. So there you have it. So again, that's built in for back brace, for anything else. So all the DME is very thorough and laid out for you. Personal injury section, if you get into personal injury, you will notice there was a Colossus. I also have built in throughout the protocols, for instance, the Croft guidelines. So if you are familiar with the Arthur Croft guidelines for PI, that's built in. So there's a whole PI section. These macros cater to being as thorough or as non-thorough as you like. Routine office visits, again, that's this upper left-hand corner. One other common area you'll see throughout the macros is exacerbation. So let's say a patient comes in on their 8th visit and they have a major flare-up from shoveling. You will be able to put that in very quick. I'll just show you. Let's say they have a moderate to severe spasm in the lower back, and it started yesterday from shoveling. And they rate it at a 7, and there you go. So exacerbation, again, this section is right there. So again, if a patient comes in with a flare-up, you just know to always click on that location on each screen. Again, as you learn, once you learn where to go for these macros, you'll find that your learning curve is very quick. So routine office visit is upper left-hand corner, so we have it all built in for whether temporary relief, things like that. Antalgia, that's a cool button that is unique to these macro sets. Let's say they're antalgia to the right with right leg pain. One button click, it automatically puts in the dialogue, as well as lays in a intervertebral disc displacement, which if they're antalgia, they likely have that. So there you go. So that's antalgia too. Let's get into maybe non-compliance. Let's say a patient has missed a whole week of treatment, and we want to document that. So there's a whole section here on non-compliance. Let's say they're not keeping their treatment schedule. There we go, non-compliance. If you want to dismiss them, you can, and there's criteria for that. If they just maybe missed a visit, we can do missed appointment. Let's say they missed 3 visits this last week because their work schedule. Again, we want to make it easy to document. So that is all built in. Therapeutic withdrawal, so that's important. So as you're nearing the end of a treatment plan, you want to be able to withdraw them. So we have treatment withdrawal, one final active visit, and then ultimately discharge summary. Very thorough, very easy laid out. So on assessment plan, you'll see that treatment withdrawal. Let's say we're going to initiate treatment withdrawal today. We're going to go out 2 weeks. So there you have it. One final visit, and then ultimately we're going to do a discharge summary. So again, we want to be able to close a case, or let's say the patient's self-dismissed. We have a button for that too. Hopefully we never have these, but of course in real life, unfortunately, we do sometimes. So let's say they self-dismiss because, hey, they're feeling all better, they don't need anything else. Again, we just want to, like I said in the beginning, every situation is built in for you to be able to handle through macros without having to type, whether they're pregnant or you have return to work or time loss disability. So the last section I want to show you before we wrap this up would be the maintenance section. Again, that's very easy. Maintenance, if they're asymptomatic or symptomatic, one-click buttons. Again, with Medicare or with maintenance Medicare, you'll see non-Medicare or Medicare. Again, maybe for non-Medicare, you want to use the S8990 code. Maybe for Medicare, you want to use the 9940-GA modifier. So you can assign that. Maybe for Medicare, you want to use the S code, whatever you want. So that's why it's broken up into different sections there. Again, we try to cater to every scenario. So there's an overview. That was a lot thrown at you. There's a lot more hidden in these macros than what I showed you, but very structured, as you've seen, very systematic. You will have, if you go to the website at ChiroToolkit.com, you will see a complete list of criteria or training criteria. So when we go into the ChiroTouch macros, you will see this member training, and this is for anybody who's purchased the macros. You will get a login provided to you that will give you detailed training on every aspect, from overview to consultations, examinations, x-rays, treatment plans, routine office visits, re-exams, orthotics, DME, patient management, coding, linking, and some tips and tricks to make your documentation very easy. Again, I appreciate you joining me today. I thank you so much. One final thing before we leave, though, is a thank you for putting up with me for this last half hour. Is you have a coupon code for $50 off any ChiroToolkit product. If you've purchased the macros already and you came to learn more, here's a $50 gift certificate off any item in the store. So maybe you want to get the treatment plan protocols, which are absolutely essential to my practice and to run you visit by visit on every type of patient. So webinar 50, that's the coupon code. Type that into the store order and it will automatically remove $50 from any order you place. Again, contact me anytime. My name is Matthew Kirkham at ChiroToolkit.com/support, info@ChiroToolkit.com, or phone at 219-226-6226. I look forward to helping you along the way. Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon. Now we're going to take time and answer all these questions. So for those of you that want to hang around, we will get to that right now.